Welcome back to House of Valkyries, headquarters for the art of soul mission for creative, wild, entrepreneurial, soul on fire women. Brought to you, this one's getting better, by the letter E with the four E's, the fourth one being silent. The four E's: embodiment, energetics, emotional mastery, and practical magic. I'm your host, Carly Raemer, and we are joined today by co-facilitator and co-pilot of Valkyries 6, which starts on October 8th, Violet Vang.
Hello, hello.
Hello. And today we are talking about the who, what, where, why, when, and hows of Valkyries, or the what the fuck is Valkyries actually? Where would you like to start?
I was gonna say, where would you like to start? I was gonna ask you, what the fuck is Valkyries actually?
What
Carly
the fuck is
Raemer.
Valkyries actually? Carly fucking Raemer. Valkyries is a Valkyries is both a home and a vessel in motion. Valkyries is a container that holds the transformation of women who are ready to become the next versions of themselves that are leading even deeper, even deeper with soul lives and missions. So Valkyries is, wow, there's so many ways to answer this question. It felt like a really psychedelic question to ask. Like, what
Yeah.
the fuck is
Well,
Valkyries actually?
let's go on
She's
this trip.
great. She's Valkyries is a spirit. Valkyries is an archetype. Valkyries dropped in for me and told me what the fuck was up. And she's like, you're doing this, as I truly believe she does for every woman that is called to join us. She shows up in some way in the beginning and taps on the shoulder or pushes into the pool or like, come on, bitch, we're going on this ride. You know?
Mhm.
um, Valkyries practically, that feels Valkyries archetypally, spiritually. Valkyries practically is a safe and unwavering space that holds and facilitates deep embodied transformation into next level soul shit. Because our souls came here to do really epic shit, and together we uncouple and unbraid and unlearn the things that have kept us from living that life so that we can step into new possibilities and
Mhm.
actually hear the guidance of soul through body. What the fuck is Valkyries actually for you?
I have more questions for you.
Okay.
Um, so this is what I'm curious about, like how that came to be for you and how she moved through you and who's she calling?
Mm,
Who are the women that she
mm-hmm.
calls for.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, how she came, how she came for me. Hind 2020 hindsight is so funny. How in in our linear timeline of life, we can see these moments of like, oh yeah, okay, so here's the moment where Valkyries 1 started. And like just before that is when she dropped in with me at the kitchen table and told me, she was like, girl, it's dragons, it's not birds. I thought it was birds before. And before that, I had been running a program called Illuminate or Body Illuminated, and kind of some versions of that. Um, and before that was when I feel like I actually, very likely that she, before that was probably when she like pushed me into the pool. But in in chronological time, we could say like, oh yeah, she dropped in like at this moment, but actually I think it was like 2 or 3 years prior.
Hmm.
And honestly, like as I say that, I'm like, no, she's probably always been here. Like even as a little kid. Because so often like we come into our embodiment and feminine power and start to clear our vessels and our channels and realize that is my sound still okay? Okay. Realize that the like our channels are super fucking clear as kids, and what was coming through as little girls is actually our greatest gifts now.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, there was a reason that I was obsessed with magic and elves when I was 6, and the I'm going to say fantasy, but I would know that I would use a different term for that now. That's what I would call it then, like sci-fi fantasy when I was a kid. When I was a kid. Anyway, I think that Valkyries has been with me for a really long time. And
Yeah.
also, like, note to self as an adult, if you're ever like feeling, if you don't join Valkyries, and this is not something that is now going to be embodied in you forever, and you're like, I just feel really lost and I could really use some guidance, just check in with your little girl and with what delighted her, what her natural talents were, what she was really good at, what her languages were, and what her channel was telling her, because very likely she's got guidance for you. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
have something to say about that. This is why I feel like for a lot of women who have come to and through Valkyries, who feel like it's home and a remembrance, is because of this.
Mm.
Remembering who they've always been. And it's almost like this journey of unlayering the conditionings of life up into this point, up into returning home to truth, to truest self.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And those little, these points of very small refinement now that are actually really, really large. So I feel like I'm going to kind of answer your second question too soon. Um, but so often where like the women that are called into Valkyries now, what they need are these like little dial adjustments, because they've done so much already that they're just these like little energetic, little embodiment tweaks that are going to be, they feel really little on paper. And this is kind of similar to what I was saying about chronological time, where we make these like tiny adjustments here, this like 1% adjustment here, and it's actually this like massive adjustment in the trajectory of soul led life and business.
Mhm. This is like fine tunement.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
the image that I'm seeing, if anyone knows like a violin, there's the corks on the top that you tune it in, but there's these fine little ones at the bottom that get it right to like the note. But that the bigger winding is like to get it there. And then it's like the fine little, tiny little attunements.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, that. I'm covered in chills. My right arm is like fully goosebumped. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had something that just slipped. Adjustment. Yeah, that's so perfect. Ooh, yes, but this is not about perfection, but about precision,
Hmm.
not perfection. We've talked about perfection, and we'll continue talking about perfection, but perfection is a mechanism that essentially keeps you safe. Like if I'm like a wounded perfectionist, energetic is like if I show up perfectly, then I'll be safe. I can never be hurt because I'm perfect. Or
Yeah.
like lots of validation, and worthiness stuff and perfection. But when we say precision, I mean precision of like cleanliness of energetic and being attuned to, these are the fine tunings, attuned to this violin, like this soul in this body, and yours in your body, and yours in your body, and yours in your body. The precision of dialing, of tuning,
Hmm. Hmm.
not perfection, precision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Cool. Thanks for bringing that. That feels really good. Okay, so initially Valkyries came through for me, or like at the point that she came through, that I didn't know that this was Valkyries in the time. I wasn't like cracked open on my bathroom floor and like Valkyrie came in and was like, ah, like I didn't have that kind of moment. But looking back on it, I'm like, oh, that's fucking exactly what happened. So I was cracked open on my bathroom floor. I had been coming out of a probably the biggest ego death of my life. That feels really dramatic. I'm just like checking myself for energetic precision here. I'm like, is that true? Yes. The biggest ego death of my life. I had been coming out of that for years and had been rebuilding, maybe not years, like 18 months, rebuilding my entire life with the exception of my relationship. But everything that I knew previous to this moment, how I identified in the world, what I was doing, who my friends were, what my where my income was coming from, just like everything crashed and burned, which is a story for another day. So I'd been rebuilding my life. I'd been reconnecting to myself and the universe, and it was a slow process. I was I was working at this breakfast restaurant. I'd been service industry forever, and I was getting up at like 4:30 in the morning to do my workouts before going to work, before walking to work, and I was doing um, I was doing everything that I knew how to do at that time to be connected to magic, to be connected to me, to be in communication with the universe, to be manifesting. And so I was lifting weights simultaneously, like side by side with sun salutations and like affirmative podcasts, and with the like the energetics of which were really hilarious and like side by side because they're like slower and higher vibrational, right? And like the weightlifting is more like it's like I want to say root chakra, but it's
Hmm.
like base of the body, like low, like more primal, right?
Hmm.
More masculine. So that was really funny. Um, and I was on my break at work, I was like journaling in my manifestation journal, and things were going like fine. I was doing some shadow work at work because it was a really great place to like try things on. And I'm like, ooh, if I change this, let's see what happens. But it just wasn't. wasn't it wasn't. I was hoping that came out better. Wasn't it wasn't working. It wasn't
Yeah.
working. I was still like, this is it. Like, this can't be it. This can't be it. Like, I'd been craving since I was a little girl this like tangibility of the ineffable, this tangibility of magic, this like my desire to hold the fabric of the universe in my hands. Like, I know it's real. I want to feel it. I want to like taste it. I want its mouth feel. Like, I know it's possible, but I'd never been able to find it. And I'd look for it in like objects. I'd try to find like old world objects that hold, of course they hold like vibrational frequencies and like old identities and stuff. But I'd look for, essentially, I was like looking for portals into other worlds and other realms. And I could never find it. So that's really what I was missing, is like, I'm doing all the things and it isn't working. Like, it wasn't landing. My, like, what I was dreaming, what I was calling in, just like wasn't really happening. And I was like working this job that was fine, but like not doing it for me, and clearly was not my soul mission. So I walked home from work one day and I fought back tears the whole way. It was a 12-minute walk. And as soon as I got home, the house was open. Nobody was home. And I walked into the bathroom and just cried, just like heart open on the bathroom floor, like yelling at the universe, at my spirit guides, like, what the fuck? Like, show me the way, show me what the fuck to do. Like, I'm plateaued. I don't know what else to do, doing my best. This is it. Show me. And I was going to tell you what I was going to read. What I was reading at the time, but that doesn't matter. I feel like I couldn't say that without being nice, without being mean about it. Ask me later. Um, so that was the moment. That was my like rupture, my crack open, my like line in the sand. Like, shit's got to change, but I don't know what to do. Show me. And I was shown, and I started developing these practices and these relationships, like relating to or orienting to the things that I was trying to do that weren't quite working in different ways. And I was shown and started honing the tools and the skill set that essentially became Valkyries later.
Mhm.
And those, I started moving energy through my body. I started processing emotions in real time and being seen in them. I was meeting all sorts of edges. I was learning, I didn't know that this is what I was doing at the time, but I was learning how to regulate my nervous system so that I could show up and do this. I same area of my life. I was wildly socially anxious, and speaking in front of people was sweat inducing. My soul would leave my body. I would stutter. I would turn red. I would have no idea what I was talking about. Like, my line of, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, this is what I'm about to say. I'm going to say this. And I would obsess about the next thing that I would say, that it would come time to say it and be totally gone. Cause like, I'm not in my body. I'm like way over there.
Yeah.
um, yeah. So I was meeting all sorts of edges, regulating my nervous system, and learning how I could show up differently in the world. And I started honing the language of my own body internally, so I could hear. Once I started processing my old stuff, my old wounds and stories and beliefs and stuff, then I could start hearing myself, my soul through my body, and how to move. And from there, she's like, other people need this. There's all sorts of other people, other creative, empowered people that are trying their damnedest to live a, like, is it too much to ask to live a fucking magical life? Is that really too much to ask? You know?
No, that's like a
There's these other
standard.
women, and I'm like, they have to know this. They have to know this. And it was not very long into this process that I launched my own business. It took me maybe a year to leave the restaurant, maybe 6 months. That was a grueling process. My ego hated it so much. I wanted to leave so bad, and timing wasn't right. Um, yeah, so the crack open on the bathroom floor was the moment. And then yeah, I was like, this was so powerful. It changed so much for me. It was like I left my job, I started my own business, and I started teaching this to other people so fast, just because I was like, this is so important. Like if I'm not doing this, this is an enormous disservice to the world. This is what I'm meant to do. So I taught it in, I think I had three sessions, three containers. It was like body illuminated, body illuminate, and then illuminate. And they were like the early versions of Valkyries. And then between the illuminateds and Valkyries started coming in differently. She started, let me put myself back there. She dropped in this different flight plan, which is actually still the course, the like the actual the difference between course and course. Like this is a course that I'm buying versus like the course of a course. Anyway, she dropped in our course of modules, which is shaped like a flight path like this. And it's still the same path that we take now, even 6 rounds later. And so she dropped that in, and initially it came in as birds. And my last guest, Karen and I were talking about one of the books that we connected over, Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Let me actually just grab this book. It's right here. So Jonathan Livingston Seagull this was my mom's version. This was gifted to my mom in 1972. Jonathan Livingston Seagull has these beautiful black and white 35 millimeter shots of seagulls.
Mhm.
And so when Valkyries first dropped in, it was from, I think I was probably reading this or rereading this for like the 400th time. And it was like this imagery. I was like, this is so beautiful. Birds, flight, like that was where my first graphics came from. And Jonathan Livingston Seagull, I'm going to just like huge plug this for life. If
Yeah.
you haven't read it, read it.
When I found out that this was like the book um on a road trip with the besties, I I didn't cry then, but I was just like crying on the inside because that book did something for me too. And for the longest time I was like, does anybody know about this book? Like it's so unassuming in all the ways, and it's everything.
Yeah, it really is. You guys, it's 84 pages. You can read it in an
Yeah,
afternoon.
you can read it. Coming
And
from me, who I did not read. I was not a reader. That's a whole other story for another time.
Jonathan, actually, I can tell like the who, what, where, why, when cows of Valkyries through the lens of Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Okay.
Okay, let's do it.
Jonathan, Jonathan was also, Jonathan the boy man was also the first love of my life. Just going to throw that out there in first grade,
Uh-oh.
all the way through high school. Okay. So this was extra special for me because I read this in elementary school. So JLS is this seagull, and he's like, what the fuck about being a seagull? He's like, you guys, this is pretty lame. We're eating dumpster food and just sleeping. We're like standing around and eating crappy food and sleeping. We're not doing anything with our lives. And
Mhm.
he starts questioning the bounds of society. And he's like, y'all, there's more to life to this. And they're like, no, Jonathan, you're crazy. And he's like, no, there is. And he starts flying really, really fast and really, really fast, and meets all sorts of edges here and takes terrifying tumbles into the sea. And essentially, the rest of the flock outcast him because they're like, this is against all of the rules, and you are no longer one of us. So, outcast, like, how many of us can identify with Jonathan, right? Like, society is fucking
Yeah.
whack. I'm going to leave it and do my own thing. And
There's
then they're
more
like,
to this.
there's more to this.
Than this. I fucking know it.
I fucking know it. And I'm
Right?
going to find it. And I'm
Yeah.
going to figure out how to fly at the speed of light. I'm going to break the sound barrier. And then my world is going to be like, you can't come back anymore. The outcast in me, my propensity to go into wallflower, and one of my stories is nobody understands me. I like really resonate with this. Okay. All right. So Jonathan, hey, don't do that. So Jonathan leaves the pack. They outcast him. He's like, all right, I'm going to go. And it's really sad for a moment. And then I'm just going to give it away, the whole book. You don't have to read it anymore.
Yeah.
Don't.
Well, this is also the Valkyries arc. The archetype is Jonathan JLS.
Isn't it great?
Yeah. This is perfect. It's actually perfect.
So okay, so he's outcast, and he's still playing with speed and with flight. And when the student is ready, the teacher appears. He meets a new teacher, and they start flying even faster and even faster, and time and space traveling. And then Jonathan starts his own school, and he teaches even more outcasts of the Seagull Society how to fly like he flies. He's like, guys, I found it. Come on. It's Valkyries. It's great. It's embodied, it's spiritual, it's everything we've been looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I thought that these graphics, and I feel like graphics, that feels like such a silly thing. Like, oh, my graphics are going to be birds, but it was like it's actually very clearly a very big deal. It's more than just graphics. It's the whole arc. So I'm standing at my kitchen table, and Valkyrie as a dragon just like dropped in, and she was like, it's dragons, and it's been dragons ever since. And I haven't actually told that story at the beginning of Valkyries. I don't tell that very often. It's usually an end of container story. It's amazing how many dragons drop in for Valkyries, for women in Valkyries on their own. They'll get their own dragon drop-ins. They'll get like, we'll meet your feminine, or we'll meet your masculine, and we'll meet all sorts of other guides and animals and energetics on your journey. And so many women have dragons show up for them.
Yeah.
I don't plant that.
Yeah.
She does it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's my longer than I intended it to be, how Valkyries came through. Who she's for is women who feel like Jonathan. Women who are like, no, they're meant for more. Like, for sure the magic that, and for me too, that like, I know that I can hold the fabric of the universe in my hands. I know that my magic can be more powerful. I know that that magic is tangible. For women that are creative artists, trailblazers, that are here to make an impact with their soul's mission. Artists, healers, coaches, facilitators, practitioners. And these women have done a lot of this speed of flight work. Like you've done a lot of inner work, and are really, really proud of and happy in where they are. And there's still this sense of, that's not quite it. or this feeling of still a feeling of still not knowing something, like this there's something I don't know, or that somatic sensation of still subtly thinking we have to fix something,
Mhm.
or like oh shit, my most recent manifestation didn't work, or I called this in and it didn't work, there must be something wrong with me here, like let me fix this. So there's this sense of like, man, this ride has been really fucking great, what's next? She's like ready for this next flight school.
Mhm. And why? Why?
Mm. I Some of you have probably seen this. I picked up the practice of rope flow. Violet has too. And learning through our rope flow coach, Karen.
Karen.
So I was out with my rope this morning, and I was I was verbally I was some here we go. I was like rope flowing and somatically channeling through words into my notes app, the why. And I I feel like I want to like get back into that flow state. Um, the why, the why, the why is obviously going to be different for everybody because we all have different, like sovereignty means something different for everyone because everyone's sovereign is different from the next. It's subjective to this soul and a body. My sovereignty is different than your sovereignty, and that's why it's really fucking important. Before this call, Violet and I were just talking about the difference in our energetic bodies and how each of us moves, and how us being in this new shape of relationship is going to ask of us to be even more honest, even more communicative about what each of our sovereign energy bodies needs,
Mhm.
in order to be operating in integrity with each of our own sovereignty. Um, so leading the why in leading a soul led life, for me is like, is there anything else?
I don't think so.
There's not for me. I I laugh because every time I've tried to do something that is outside of myself, even was when I was younger and still had um, all sorts of like that I'm supposed to show up this way, I'm supposed to do that, and I know that I was doing things for other people instead of me. Like I was in college for someone else. I wasn't doing that for me. That's not one of my values.
Mhm.
Um, I forgot where I was going with that. Anyway, a oh yeah, every time I try to, like, if I took a job that was actually outside of my soul's truth, I would almost like eject from it. I just like
Mhm.
couldn't do it.
Like your
um
body doesn't even let you.
no, no,
Like
I would
yeah.
sabotage it. Like it's not happening, not happening. But the why, like our we were born with a why. We came here with a why, a direction, a path, a destiny, even, and also a how. Like each of us
Mhm.
has our own how. Like this is how we're supposed to operate. This is the direction we're supposed to go. And this is your own unique why. I don't know what that is for everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is for anybody but me, which is the whole fucking point of sovereignty, and also knowing the language of your own body so that you can
Yeah.
hear this, so you can go that direction, so you can be so in tune, those the fine tunes on the violin, to operate in in integrity and in alignment with your soul's truth, with your how your energy is supposed to move, how your body is supposed to move through this. And again, it's supposed to, like, the energetic clarity here, not precision, not perfection of movement, but how you are meant to move towards your soul's destiny, towards your legacy, towards building your soul's movement. Like the women that are called the Valkyries are here to bring expression to the world, bring art to the world, to lead and heal others toward their bigger destiny too. Like that's my
Mhm.
why, is like we have big fucking work to do. And if we're not doing this work together, we're not doing it. Or we're
Yeah.
doing it much, much slower and out of community. Trying to do it in isolation might go faster, but it's going to be much less powerful and much less supported. And like our great inner work is much more supported in community than in isolation. That's why group work is so much more powerful than doing your work on your own.
Mhm. And also, I feel like to that, in Valkyries, part of what is happening in there is learning how to study your nervous system in your why, like unwavering why, and being able to communicate that within your community unwaveringly, right? There is going to be wobble, but like to really hold that frequency in your entire system, in your entire body, in your entire nervous system, like that is what is happening in Valkyries.
Yeah. And why has that been hard previously? Like, why would we drop that previously? Because this seems so obvious, right? Like, we've got soul's work to do.
Mm-hmm.
Why would we waver in that?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is where all of our childhood stuff comes up. That's like,
Mm-hmm.
if I stand in my truth, then I'm gonna get in trouble for it. Then they're gonna be mad at me. Then I'm gonna be abandoned. Then I'll be alone. They won't understand me. I can't do it my way because then I'll be invalidated. I can't do it this way because they're gonna think I'm weird. I can't do it this way because I'll be outcast. I'll be alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So previously standing in truth, and this changes with every um my hesitation is I don't love the word up level, but I'm going to use it. With every level we jump up, like, okay, we're here. And again, this is not about ascension. Um, or maybe if it is, we're going to bring it back into the body, because ascension is actually just leaving the body if we're not bringing it back into, if we're not grounding it in daily practices and actually feeling spirituality through the body. But each time you jump into a next identity, a next embodiment the of the woman who's leading her soul level life, her soul through her body and her mission, all of this is going to change. So the what you met at last level is going to be different than the next level. And like every time you identity up, you're meeting new edges and new challenges.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we have 5 minutes left. God, this time goes so fast.
Yeah.
And um, I had so much more I wanted to cover, but I trust that we'll get to it next week.
Part two.
What?
We'll just do a part two.
Part two. Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, also I need to know this, please drop in with either of us. If you have follow up questions, please just come drop into either of our DMs and let us know, and we will answer them on the next one. The the vessel, the vehicle that we utilize, and what's different about Valkyries versus other containers is the lens of sacred energetics and embodiment. So this is not a mindset container. Your mindset will naturally switch to one that is more expanded. Your thoughts will naturally switch to the thoughts that the woman that you're stepping into has versus your old thought patterns. But it's not a mindset container. We're working through energetics and embodiment to shift what's available there, to shift where you have been into where you're going. Sacred energetics, we work with the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine, and feel about, this is a feeling container, not a talking container, feel the difference between a wounded energetic and a sacred energetic. And we feel those in the body. So energetics and embodiment are the vehicle that we're going to take you or give to your body that will take you from where you are to where you want to go. And through the methods, through Valkyrie's signature methods, through somatic alchemy. And so we'll take once you have this formula, you can use this on any block, fear, shadow, limiting belief, and like anything that's in the way of where you want to go. You can use this to not just release it. There's this really cute thing that gets missed in a lot of embodiment and energetics work, and that is the actual reforming of energy. So not just to release it, not just to process it, but to repattern it into something that's full of even more possibility. But once you know this formula, it's when we work embodied, you have it for life. Like when you work in the brain, when you work on just cognitive stuff and just mind stuff, you have it as long as you can remember it, kind of like learning math. But when you work in the body, you remember it forever. Your body remembers. It's the reason that you can still remember what your boyfriend when you were 17 smelled like and what he was wearing on that day that he broke up with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I had one more thing, and again, it's like, phew, on the way out. Bringing it in a container, being in group. The whole reason that I teach Valkyries as a group and not as a one-on-one package is because the group, the sacred sisterhood, the fellowship is paramount in teaching the parts of ourselves that we have previously deemed unlovable, that we are safe to be seen in both our fears and our desires. We're actually utilizing the group as sacred witness, which means that we will absolutely be calling in expression and edges and fears to be seen and held in witness of the group. So your homework will definitely be challenging, and it's the part that gives the most transformation to the parts that want to isolate and hide, which are actually the ones that are keeping you where you are from where you are, and why you're not jumping into where you want to be. Last thing I'll say on this, and then we'll wrap up, is that our wounds, all of our wounded energetics, were created in isolation. So they happened when we needed something. We needed something or someone to be with us. We needed to be met in something, and what we actually found was isolation. So our wound was created when we were alone. We had a need and we were alone. And so the way to start to stitch that, and this is not about like this is I don't have anything that's empty. Pretend that this is a hole, like this is your wound. This is not about like I do this work once and now I'm healed. Okay, it doesn't work that way. That's actually another wounded masculine energetic. But every time we touch it, we start to stitch another layer and another layer and another layer. And so our body mind begins to rewire into a this no longer means what I used to make this mean about me, but into a space of possibility. What we need for that to happen is contact with other people, particularly contact with really fucking dope women who are also unshakable in their love and approval for every single other woman in that group, and that is Valkyries. Woo! Okay, we are at time. Really quickly, Valkyries 6 starts on October 8th. We run for 6 months. We meet on Tuesdays. We meet for three Tuesdays every month at 1:30 to 3:30 Mountain Standard Time. We take the 4th Tuesday off for integration week because it's really, really necessary. And there's all sorts of other goodies inside of Valkyries, but we will get to them at a later date. And anything else before we sign off?
No.
That felt like a delightful channel for me. Yeah. Okay, great. Awesome. Beautiful. Well, yeah, anything you need on your journey, like reach out. We're both here we love a good resistance and also love even more moving through them. So if you need some help in the process, if you need any more details, please come see either of us, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.